Live tonight from the largest track on the NASCAR calendar, iRacing's NASCAR Race Night on RaceSpot TV takes to the high banks of Talladega, Alabama's Talladega Superspeedway for the Checkered Flag Racing League's Cup Series Chase for the Cup. The green flag is next right here on iRacing Live.
On the outside, contact made, 56 slides in at a 4, who's going to be at the stripe? Dead even, give it to Ryan Truex. Truex is your winner over Tandy.
Good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to a special presentation of iRacing's NASCAR Race Night on RaceSpot TV, streaming live on iRacing Live and Fans Choice TV for the Checkered Flag Racing League Chase for the Cup, the second annual Traumatic Brain Injury Awareness 250 at Talladega. We're happy to have you with us tonight from Talladega Superspeedway. Evan Pasocco, Andy Castle, Randy Chen at topside with you, and as always, our director this evening is RaceSpot TV's Hugo Louise. Ready, set, go. Practice done. Qualifying just about to the books, Andy, and we're set for a lot of action tonight. 94 laps, 250 miles at the Talladega, Alabama High Banks, and it is the largest track on the NASCAR calendar, and it is going to be a very exciting and important race. As qualifying draws to a close tonight, it is the third race of 3 in the round of 12 of the chase. 4 drivers of those battling for a championship going to be sent home after tonight.
Yeah, when you talk about that, Evan, and you play that all out at Talladega, unbelievable right here. A lot of things can happen at this racetrack. A lot of things can be won and lost on and off pit road, on the racetrack, losing the draft, get caught in someone else's mess. These guys have a lot riding on this, especially those guys, the 8 of them that are trying to transfer out of the 12 into the next round of the chase. So a lot of guys are going to be on their edge of the seats here tonight. This is going to be fun.
It is going to be an exciting race, we know that much, and we are set to do battle. So let's take a look trackside at your RaceSpot TV starting grid for the Traumatic Brain Injury Awareness 250 at Talladega. How about a pole position for Corey Hoover, the single car qualifying session with a 59.74, besting them all. Going to have the 33 Chevrolet starting from the top spot. Cody Kelly, short track driver, known for the most part on the sim. He's got a lot of speed to the outside of the front row. He will roll from second. The number 45, Carl Shed. He'll start tonight P3. Fourth place to the outside of row number 2, going to be the 50 of Austin Yarbrough, and Casey Kelly going to round out your top 5.
We're going to have 56 of Wendell Stratton. He's going to start off 6th. 78th of Joe Lawrence will start in that 7th spot. 8th goes to Bruce Ackerman. Jamie Haley will start 9th, and 10th will be Trevor Rapolo.
11th position on going to be Michael Laria in the number 44 with Mark Ropolo on the outside into the number 12 spot. Thomas Lewis Jr. in 13th. Riley Grant Davis at 14th. P15 going to be Walker Thomas.
Jacob Adams in the 19 will roll off to that 16th spot. 17th goes to Nick Massey, while Cole Lagunya will start 18th. 19th goes to Chris White. And Steve Bonesteel will start 20th.
21st tonight going to be Trent Brown, Michael Finlayson back in 22nd. 23rd in the middle of the fray, Dalton Alexander. Gunther Dadson in 24th. Michael Thompson going to round out your top 25.
Jeffrey Robichard will start in the 26th spot. 27th to Michael Skinner. Thomas Rezi III will start 28th. 29th is Jason Thompson. And Brendan Modana will start 30th.
And then you're going to have Adam de Blasio back in 31st, Justin Munsell in 32nd, Bronson Stafford 33rd, and Shane Tarian in 34th. That's a look at your full starting grid for tonight's iRacing's NASCAR Race Night event. And Randy, we're ready to go. It's 94 laps at Talladega, and the ever so exciting thing to talk about at these kind of racetracks is these guys are going to be going at each other's throats from the start to the end, but really, I guess ideally, you just like to ride around till lap 75. The key in these races is always survival.
You gotta avoid that big crash that'll probably end up happening, and basically just keep yourself in line, keep yourself running quick, stay with yourself with a drafting partner, and try to be that first car coming off the tri-oval at lap 94.
The base car going to bring us out of turn number 4, and we're locked and ready to go. We're happy to have you with us tonight live on Race Spot TV and iRacing Live. The pace car makes the sharp left-hand turn down to the wayside, and we wait the number 33 Chevrolet of Corey Hoover to take the green. They round through the tri-oval to the American Ethanol. Green flag and underway from Talladega, the third and final race in a round of 12 underway to turn number 1, and a good jump for both drivers on the front lane. Nobody going to have an advantage down to turn number 1. The inside, though, going to try to pull up and ahead as they get up to the gears in the third. Now in the fourth gear, already at 170 plus miles an hour at a turn number 2 to the Alabama gang back straightaway for the first time.
Yeah, 2x2 now for the front two rows as they race down that back straightaway, and it almost looked like a little bit of separation from the 45 was going to allow that top side to have some momentum. Unable going to happen there. Carl Shedd was able to get to that back bumper of Corey Hoover. Now the top 4 had themselves separated just a bit, but we can see that draft working now off of turn number 4. That little second pack there, 5th on back. They've caught him now, and now we got ourselves a battle. We only got one car now left on the high side.
Yeah, the outside of the racetrack, not the place to be getting up to speed. It is going to come into effect here, Andy, soon, but again, they have to build that momentum up, so I don't think it's a surprise to anybody to see that inside lane get an advantage. To have 8 cars clear, though, on the inside, and maybe a little bit more than the guys that started in those even number of positions would have liked to. The outside will come to play, though. I don't think it's going to be the 9, though, of Trevor Rapolo being the first guy out there. You're going to see somebody from the inside jump up, try to take that momentum away, and the first driver going to try that, the 78 of Joe Lawrence.
Yeah, he does, and that 9 car actually gets shuffled up to that third lane there. That's going to be unfortunate for him. He's going to lose a lot of momentum with that. He'll probably try to just squeeze down behind the 78 here, but yeah, I think for the most part, these guys, knowing it's early runnings, I think they're more or less going to stay single file down the inside. No reason just yet to go 2-3 wide.
And they do go 3 wide, and it's not really going to work out for those guys. We see this time and time again at these plate tracks. Nine goes to the outside. What he doesn't want to do there is back off, give up his momentum to the number 78, and now 4 wide in turns 1 and 2. The 025 coming up the inside. Steve Bonesteel making an aggressive move to get to the back of Joe Lawrence. And those guys that went to that third lane, not going to gain anything. They will drop back, and now we'll see what that 78 machine can do as he tries to get his way up. But all of this battling 3 and 4 wide in the middle of the pack is not helping these guys out at all, because that battle already going on over a second behind the leader. The top 10 single file line at a turn number 4 to complete lap number 3 this time, and your pole sitter Corey Hoover well in control.
Yeah, I'm not surprised having to see these guys single file with how much is riding on the line here at this race. So it's one of those things, you got to take it easy. You got to be able to, I wouldn't say just ride around. Actually, it looks like they checked up just a bit in the 7 of Cole Lagunia. Actually had to jump out of line there. He's going to lose a bunch there, having to go way up to the high side. But that was definitely one of those things. But yes, these guys, they'll be a little calm here in the opening laps, especially at least up to that first round of pit stops if we can make it there under the green flag conditions, because these guys need to make it to the end. A lot of these guys, 8 of them at least, have the opportunity to move into that next round of the chase. So you don't want to be caught up in an accident, especially how tight those points are.
Yeah, just like you said there, Andy, survival is going to be really, really key here, I think, with the way points are and getting yourself into the chase. And we're really seeing that where, no one's really up on the outside until you get down, outside of the top 10, really. So very, very calm racing here for the most part, with the exception of that one 4-wide move we saw from Steve Bonesteel in that 025 car.
And that outside now really has disappeared after all of the disagreements back at the pack on who's going to be working where again. Working with people is a huge factor in that. You see that 025 of Steve Bonesteel still on the outside of the racetrack, doing a good job working his way forward. Started in 20th, now rides in the number 13 spot. He's in the top lane in the iRacing.com Chevrolet, but without any support, the side draft can at least keep you there on the straightaways in the turn, though it's not going to work at all, and really he's just waiting to find a spot back in line, and looks like the door may be open behind the number 4. He will jump in behind Riley Davis, the number 4 Chevrolet, running right now in 17th position, back 3 from where he started. So your leaders have been very cooperative with each other. They're working together. They're doing what we mentioned briefly before we dropped the green flag tonight. That is just trying to get through these first couple of laps. 4 wide on lap 3 of 94. Probably not the best idea. Your leaders are in consensus on that, but behind them, you got a couple of guys trying to get up there. Michael Aria to the outside of the racetrack in the number 44, and the 56 of Wendell Stratton going to pop up. At least he thinks about it. Drops back down to the inside because only the 19 of Jacob Adams went topside with the 44. You still need more than 2 cars, 3, 4, or 5 at least to get something going.
Yeah, you definitely do. The more the merrier. You've got to do it by numbers, but I can see a couple of guys up front trying to do it as well. That 75 machine of Cody Kelly decided to go out there. He's got a little bit of help, but like we said, with only 2 cars, it is a longer way around the racetrack technically, so it definitely loses a lot of steam as they go through the corners. Where they make up their time is coming off the corner. It's all about timing. We'll see it all night long throughout this race. You got to get to that back bumper as soon as you exit that corner to get that run, to try to get clear of that leader on the bottom lane. If you don't, it makes for a long night sitting there too wide the whole time.
Yeah, we've been talking about calm driving here from the start, but someone who's been making some moves is our Trent Brown. He's moved himself 10 spots up already from this green flag. 7 laps in, started 21st, running P11 just outside the top 10. So he's definitely trying to get himself moving forward. Now, big crashes here at Talladega are always a big talking point. Some people like to be behind him and dodge him. Some people would rather be out in front of them, and I think our Trent Brown is definitely in that second category.
And the funny part is, for the guys that want to be in front of the accident, they normally have to drive up through that danger zone to get there. And you want to get out in front of the field, you want to get well out in front of it. But again, you mentioned guys that want to hang back. Well, it is a big single file line. There really is no definition between the lead group and the back group. It is just a long single file stretch. If you want to put a difference maker in that conversation, you could make it to number 16, Michael Thompson, who's a second back for the car in front of him. But everybody back there, they're taking it easy. They're hanging it back. You do see that large pack start to form up at the front of the field, and no surprise that once the outside lane does get some support, they get a whale of momentum, and they're coming up on the outside of the racetrack all the way to second that time for Cody Kelly. And on the inside, you got the number 75 machine also working up topside. 15's going to push him through the corner. The 02 working with him. That's Jamie Haley to the outside of the racetrack, trying to challenge for the first time tonight. We go side by side for the race lead.
Yeah, definitely for the first time, we're starting to see that top side really start to form up here as we get a lot more cars starting to join the pack here in the back. We got about 5 of them now up towards the front here, so this should give that top side a little more momentum. If they can play it right, like I said, the timing off the corner, they just might be able to get up there and pass that 33 machine of Corey Hoover, who's led this race all the way since that drop of the green flag. Now 9 laps into this race, so he's doing a great job keeping that front row, keeping that front spot there, and lucky for him that 45 of Carl Shedd and the rest of them right behind him haven't really decided to make a move just yet. Top side, though, it's gained some momentum as we got 1 car down in the apron there. It looks like the 56 machine down on the apron. That's Wendell Stratton. Looks like he got a little loose through the corner there. He'll gather it back up. We stay green flag racing, and we got a battle for the lead now into turn 3.
Yeah, good driving there by the 56, catching that apron to not spin it around. He's going to lose all that momentum. Hopefully he can catch this back. But looking back out front, Corey Hoover is really getting... Well, he got challenged for the first time, and Cody Kelly has actually managed to make this pass for the lead as they come off of turn 4 to complete lap 10 out of this 94.
That worked about just as good as it could for Cody Kelly because the 75 started to the outside of the front row. Lap number 10 going to be the first change for the lead that time. The 75 Chevrolet with the advantage. But Kelly didn't drop way back to the outside. He found a spot and line to the inside, stayed inside the top 3 while everybody else on the outside lane really began to drop. We saw how it was 11 cars at one point broke it away on the inside to start this one. Then once the outside lane started coming back up, he jumped out in front of them, got a push to the race lead. So well executed for the number 75. He's out in front. Now we'll see if that 15 of Austin Yarbrough can get the push to challenge, because the outside is there now with 4 drivers working in unison as the field begins to stretch out outside the top 10, looking at about a 14-car breakaway or so. 13 drivers the last time by, still within 1 second, but the driver out in front of the field. The 15 needs a little bit more support if he wants to get clear. But right now, that 75 machine to Cody Kelly enjoying the clean air out in front of the field. The 33 of Corey Hoover behind him going to be a big factor, and if that outside can get around him, you don't want to push because you'll blow up the engine. But when that outside challenge comes, you have to get up on that bumper, that guy leading that inside charge, and get going. And you see they really get a lot more tight that time down the Alabama game back straightaway once the challenge does come, and it'll still be Cody Kelly to turn 3.
Yeah, well, the 33 of Corey Hoover did a great job off turn 2 to get up to his back bumper, give him that push to secure that top spot there for that 75 of Cody Kelly. And so far it's worked right here, but you can see off of turn number 4, a pretty good run by that top side right there. Looks like the 02 of Jamie Haley's going to be able to get to that back bumper. Just don't think they're going to have quite enough momentum this time, at least, to clear before turn number 1. It's going to keep those 6 cars on the top side at least at bay for a moment. That was a pretty good shove, though. That's going to be enough. We did have enough into turn number 1, and it looks like that 15, Austin Yarbrough, now to the point.
An awesome move by that outside line there. We're seeing that once they get 5 or 6 cars deep up there on the high line, they can get the momentum to get a pass done. I think if they're 4 cars or less, they need people to jump out there to really help them, and that's really showed. Although the 02 car, Jamie Haley, he doesn't want to let Austin Yarbrough lead a lap there. He might just be able to steal it as they come off of turn 4 and head down onto this front straightaway.
He went right back after him, but the 02 going to run out of steam. And look at that 15 slot up to the outside of the racetrack. And not sure if he's working with the 02 or if he went up there to just kill the momentum of the outside line. But there really wasn't a lot of space between the back bumper of the 15 and the 02. It looked like they were working together, though, because he drags him up top, brings him back down. And just like that, Yarbrough and Haley going to go to P1 and P2 on the inside of the racetrack. And now it's Michael Aria's turn on the outside. Started P11. He leads that charge on the outside lane. He's got the 19 of Jacob Adams behind him, who started this race in 16th position. He's passed so far 11 drivers to run in 5th spot at the moment. So the outside the lane to go if you want to make up some time. But that 33 behind him, the 45 of Carl Shedd, those are guys that have just sat on the inside all race long and really haven't shown any intentions of going to the top. They're just riding. The guys on the outside, the ones that are going to try to press the issue here early.
It shows you that top side. It's almost like leapfrog. I think I mentioned that just about every time we do a race here at Talladega or Daytona. They play leapfrog up front. You can see where that pole sitter, 33 of Corey Hoover and Carl Shedd, have fallen back. And they're not out of contention by any means, but they're now out right around that top 10 area because that outside line just keeps one after another. They just keep taking over the lead. It pushes that bottom line back further and further. So if these guys want to get back up and get some laps led, like they were doing early on, they definitely need to move to the outside and have a shot at it. But like you said, it's not so much the time to really push the issue. If you got an opportunity, you take it. If you don't, you're pretty content with where you are in the time being, and that is exactly what that 33 and 45 seem to have in common here, at least in the beginning parts of this race.
Yeah, like you said, Andy, one of the things people love about this sort of racing is the fact that the field can get shuffled like a deck of cards. And just looking up toward the front, in the top 6, we have 2 people who qualified outside of the top 10. And there's only 1 car running who qualified in the top row within the top 3. So people, I mean, this is the sort of plate racing that people love to watch. People can move around, people can make passes, and that makes for very, very exciting racing.
I would almost say to that point that if you see at the end of the race half the drivers that started inside the top 10 finish inside the top 10, that would be an abnormality. Normally, you want to start up front, make sure not easier, sure, but just how much shuffling goes on in this field, I'd be surprised if the guys that are up front early are the guys that are up front late. That's just how unpredictable it is. We talk about the importance of this race in this championship. Chicago and New Hampshire both have come and gone, and Talladega Talladega, as we mentioned, the final race of the 3 in the round of 12 in the CFRL Cup Series chase for the championship. So after tonight, bottom 4 in the points going to be eliminated. Those top 8 go on to the round of 8. They'll race at Martinsville, Texas, Phoenix. They'll cut them in half, and 4 going to race at Homestead for the championship. But Talladega, such a wild card race. It's always reported as such because anybody can win these kind of races. This could be a huge race for somebody down in the championship standings, down on that chase grid, that needs a win to help out their case, and that's why a lot of guys love plate racing. It's a love-hate relationship. For the guys that are at the top of the championship, Andy, they just want to get through this one and advance to the next round. For the guys at the bottom, and even for some of the guys who have run a limited schedule that aren't battling for the championship, they see tonight as a night that they could end in victory lane.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And guys like Austin Yarborough, he's one of those guys deep in the points in the chase standings that basically needs a win. He's got to get going here tonight. He's doing a great job right now. Started really well tonight here in the 4th spot, up to first now, leading a bunch of laps here. So, you know, it's funny, we had about a 10-car breakaway, Evan. Look at the field now, Randy, even. Look at it's 3 wide all the way back, and this field is just, all of a sudden, everybody is caught up to one another, and this is going to be quite a dandy one here. So right around outside the top 10, everybody 2 by 2 now through that, even some 3 wide action further back.
Yeah, I think what happened is that outside lane up front really lost a lot of momentum, and it's still single file up there for your top 7 or so positions. So I think that those people that got stranded in the top lane were trying to shuffle themselves down, and it just kind of created a domino effect throughout the field. People were having to check up, and actually this last time by, someone caught the apron, I'm not sure who it was, and they had to make a great save to not wreck a huge amount of this field going through 3 and 4. Some great driving there. Although, as I say that top line's trying to get working again up there in the top group. Although Michael Laria, he jumps out there. Someone jumped out behind him, thought better of it. Now he's stranded out there in clean air rather, all by himself.
So the leaders still have that single file breakaway, something that we saw early. 9 drivers, single file up at the front of the field at NP10 on back, led by the number 88 of Gunther Dadson. That's where the side-by-side begins. You got the 98 of R. Trent Brown to the outside. He leads the outside charge. And again, we were talking about how we had 9 or so cars single file early. Then we saw some side-by-side up front. Everybody behind started to be the ones to drop back. Next thing you know, you do have one large pack again with the top 24 cars within 1.5 seconds of the driver up at the front of the field. But most of the 2 wide again remains in the back. And that's why I think it's because the guys, at least on the inside of the racetrack up front, continue to just ride in line. They're satisfied for the moment. I did note a couple of guys that we had seen on the inside all night long. The 33 of Corey Hoover, one of them who started from the pole position. Take it over though, didn't jump to the outside, didn't go to challenge. He has continued to ride there. There have been 3 passes for the race lead, and they're the 3 cars in front of him. Kelly, Haley, and Yarborough. They've gone to 3, 2, and 1. The 33 now back and forth, but he's not forcing the issue to the outside because he's in that lead draft. The objective for a lot of these guys right now, if you don't have a lot of teammates around you, start making friends, because pit stops going to be coming up not all that far from now, and a race that has a green flag atmosphere like this, what a pit stop is going to be a huge thing in finding success. You can't afford coming down by yourself.
Yeah, no, pit stops are very much a key, especially under the green flag conditions here, Evan. And it just, we've seen so many races won and lost on this pit lane. I think I mentioned that earlier here tonight, and it's just getting slowed down from 200 miles an hour down to 60 to get on the pit lane safely. And usually when they come down, you'll have these big, large groups of 10-plus cars trying to all funnel down into this one little tiny pit road entrance, and it can get pretty crazy. The guys missing pit road and hitting the cone, losing a lot of speed, spinning into pit road. So a lot of things can happen on there. A lot of races are won and lost on pit road. So it's definitely going to be a lot of fun to watch as this starts to progress here in this opening run.
Yeah, we're watching the 16 car of Michael Thompson right now, and like you said, Andy, the pit sequences here at these big super speedway tracks can be very, very hectic. People don't want to come in alone, have absolutely no draft, and I really think we're going to see pit stops here start probably in the next 15 to 20 laps or so. But yeah, like you said, getting these big cars slowed up from 200 miles an hour plus down to 60 miles an hour. With the way these cars are set up and as aggressive as people are going to be, I wouldn't be surprised if we see ourselves an incident once green flag pit stops start, if we get green flag pit stops even.
And very rarely will you see somebody practice pit stops by themselves. And you can't really, because you can come down the pit lane by yourself whenever you want. A couple of guys at the back of the pack getting beat around a little bit to 39. Some damage on Bronson Stafford's Toyota. He got a little bit out of shape at the center of one as they checked it by the inside. He hung on and no further issues. Pitting by yourself isn't the problem. If you come right down off the bank and hit 4 and hit the brakes, you'll get slowed up in time. The difference is when you're coming down pit road, you're 2, 3, sometimes 4 and 5 wide coming down to the pit lane, and you're not braking right away because there's a lot of time that can be lost and or gained between turn 4 and that commitment cone, and that's where you tend to find some issues. 24 laps in, quarter distance in the Traumatic Brain Injury Awareness 250, and it is Austin Yarbrough in front of the field. Be in the conversation on Twitter tonight if you're following at the CFRL. That's THE CFRL. Tweet to them using the hashtag TBIA250. Let them know who you think's going to end up in victory land by the end of the night. Stay in the conversation all evening long. A $15 iRacing credit giveaway will be going to one lucky person tonight. That again is the hashtag TBIA250.
A great event here, and obviously the second running of this event, and it's always fun to run these special events in the leagues, and we've been involved with a whole bunch of them over the years, and it's a lot of fun to be involved with these races, and it's great to see a great car count like this here, and still 33 cars on the lead lap, and just a great event, and a great it's one of those racetracks that brings out a lot of players as well too, Randy, just because of it's not because it's an easy place to drive, but it's just such a great equalizer where everybody in the field has an opportunity to win one of these.
Oh yeah, it's so much fun getting out there and running, bumper to bumper, fender to fender with people for 25, 30, 40 laps at a time. In a lot of the other ovals, oval racing in general is known for its close racing compared to road. However, these super speedways are really what personifies that even more. It's what, a 3-second gap to the top 20, top 30 or so. Very, very close racing, very, very fun, and like you said, great turnout here. 34 cars total, one of them just went a lap down. However, it's important to note that nobody is currently scored out of the race.
28 cars within 3 seconds up at the front of the field. We just saw Jason Thompson go one lap down in the Bernardi Donna machine. He is the first driver to fall off of the lead lap tonight. In fact, he's one of only 2 drivers disconnected from the pack. He lost the draft and fell back quickly. The other driver in a bad spot is Adam de Blasio, the 21, started 31st, is in second to last at the moment, 33rd, and he is 16 seconds off of the pack. If we continue to race under green flag conditions, the pack is about 15 miles an hour faster in the draft than going out there by yourself. He would be the second driver to fall a lap down in problems.
Big trouble in the turn number 2, and wow, that was a big one right there. It looked like the 51 of Michael Skinner got loose on the apron, Evan, and just ended up coming back up the racetrack, and there was a whole bunch of cars involved in that. The number 9 of Trevin Rapolo was also involved in that heavy hit to the wall.
We talked about an incident very similar to this one just a couple of laps ago. I think it was with Bronson Stafford a little bit deeper in the pack. You take a look at the replay now. A checkup coming into the corner, and a 51 gets hit on that right rear quarter panel by Wendell Stratton, who was going high to avoid the checkup, but it just turned that 51 Toyota around. He tried to hang on to it, but it came back up, took out the 9, the 14, and a couple of other cars. Pretty big accident coming out of turn number 2. It's going to slow us down for the first time this evening. Caution at lap number 27.
Yeah, certainly that's the big wreck that a lot of people were wanting to try to avoid, and why we saw a lot of people being aggressive, getting themselves out in front of it. For those people that started in the back that worked real hard to get themselves out front, that's going to pay off, because they were people that qualified near that wreck were able to get themselves out in front of it.
So the caution flag is out. The field get a group up behind the pace car for the first time tonight, and that means that takes all the excitement out of the green flag pit stops that we were talking about, because they're going to do pit service under the yellow flag, going to get some tires, get some fuel, and they'll get set to go back green in a moment. So we'll take this opportunity to step away. You're watching RaceSpot TV's presentation of iRacing's NASCAR Race Night, back for the Talladega Superspeedway in a moment. You're watching the Checkered Flag Racing League's Traumatic Brain Injury Awareness 250. We're back live at the Talladega Super Speedway, just past quarter distance in the second annual Checkered Flag Racing League Traumatic Brain Injury Awareness 250 at Talladega. Special presentation of iRacing's NASCAR Race Night on Race Spot TV. We're just past the quarter distance mark, as I've mentioned, and Chris Wright going to go to the point in this one. We are working under our first caution flag of the evening. Problems in turn number 2. Collects about 3 or 4 cars. Justin Bunchel, Trevor Rapolo, Michael Finlayson, and Jacob Adams all going to fall off of the lead lap as they head pit side to their crews and try to get some of those repairs completed to get back on track. So 30 drivers going to be set to bring us back to the green flag. Evan Pasoko, Andy Kessler, and Randy Chen at top side with you. 55 in front of the field from 19th on the grid. And Austin Yarbrough, who had been in control of the field, going to find himself back in P number 2. Andy, interesting race. We've seen a lot of the elements that we expect out of a race here at the Talladega Super Speedway, but they've gotten really strung out and then got really bunched up a lot tonight.
Yeah, they did early on, strung out that whole bottom lane for the front, I would say probably 15 cars or so. That's what they wanted to do. But once that second lane started coming up, and that really allowed, the speed starts to get scrubbed off, and that really allowed all those guys further back there outside the top 15 that kind of had lost that draft. It allowed them to single file it up, get themselves back up with a lot of speed. It ended up right there before that caution came out, and we had a big group of cars, pretty much all 28, or at least 28 of those guys within about a couple seconds of the lead. So it was a pretty cool thing to see for all those guys to come up like that. And then, of course, we were getting close to those green flag pit stops, which we didn't see just yet, but you never know. We might be able to see them here on this next run here, but it looks like that 55 is going to surrender the lead, at least for the time being. He's going to come back down pit road, probably to top off. I would think you would see some of these guys maybe start to play that field strategy.
Yeah, getting yourself to the end here is going to be very, very important, and if we stay green, I don't know if they're going to be able to make it. However, from here, Evan, you're a little bit more experienced than me. Do you think if they catch a yellow, do you think that these people who are coming down to get this extra however much fuel they're going to be able to get, do you think they'll be able to stretch it to the end just on this one stop?
I think you're going to have to plan on making it. You're going to have to go to pit road one more time, but I would not be surprised if we don't get it under green flag conditions, because now you go to the point where you still have a pit stop between you and the end of this race. So the sense of urgency is not through the roof like we're going to see these guys do in the final 20 laps of this race as the lights go on for the pace car. But now in your head, you're thinking, okay, I've got one final pit stop. I need to be in front once that pit stop is done. So these guys are getting up on the wheel. They're going to be battling. I would not be surprised at all if we see another yellow before we head back down to the pit lane, but that will remain to be seen. Again, we saw the 55 come down. He'll collect the bonus points for being up at the front of the field, and he'll turn things back over to Austin Yarbrough, who started P4 and kind of dictated the pace at the end of that opening stint in this one. 1 week ago, the Fastenal 150 at the New Hampshire Motor Speedway was the 13th round on the season, and it was the second race of 3 in the round of 12, and it was Cole Bogota taking home the win with Chris Wright, Michael Finlayson, and Thomas Towers Jr. with Jamie Haley coming home inside the top 5. Bruce Ackerman, Trevor Rapolo, Brendan Madonna, R. Trent Brown, and Nick Macy rounded out the top 10 in the championship standings back at New Hampshire 1 week ago, which sets us up for tonight's race. Again, the final race of 3 in the round of 12. Bottom 4 on the chase grid. Going to be going home once we drop the checkered flag tonight, and that's assuming they could make it that far, and their hopes don't get dashed a little bit earlier than they would like. The pace car down and away. There's still plenty of cars and plenty of time left for the big one to strike at Talladega. We look for the first restart on the night. Lap number 31 going to go to the boats. Green flag waves in the back end.
Yeah, back at it. Pretty good jump on that bottom side there for that 15 of Austin Yarbrough. Had the help from Cody Kelly there now to keep themselves up to the top side. Like we saw in the beginning, it takes about a lap for these cars to get full speed here and to get going. So you'll see a lot of these guys drop down to that bottom line, just like we're seeing the 33 right there. Corey Hoover do off of turn number 2. But unfortunately, that leaves that 0-2 of Jamie Haley all by himself there. It's going to be a long ways till he can get back in the line unless somebody's going to, maybe tap the brakes and let him back in. But that's going to be a long way back for him, or at least until somebody else can come out there and help him.
Yeah, this is pretty interesting to me. Both starts, or the start and the restart now, everyone pretty much has got themselves down to the bottom quickly. However, about 8 to 10 laps into the run, at least the first one, we saw people start getting aggressive, start moving up to the outside, start trying to make passes. Really, really interesting to me that people are not taking this start to be aggressive and are just getting themselves down in the inside. Especially as Evan talked about with the pit stops, wanting to get yourself out front by the time the second pit stop cycle comes around, that people aren't trying to move themselves forward a little bit more.
Just as we saw at the start of the race, no momentum for the outside. Everybody, I guess nobody wants to be the one to start that charge. It's kind of funny because the guy that gets pushed to the race lead is normally the guy that bails out first and then jumps out in front of the field like we saw Cody Kelly do in the opening stint of the race, ride the inside, jump up, take the momentum away, and take the benefit. The guy who starts the charge to the outside that makes it possible is the one that normally gets stuck 5th or 6th even in line on the top side of the racetrack, but it is a lot of single file. They go into the tri-oval, no problem for Austin Yarbrough to retain the race lead. Coming off of the restart, they're single file all the way back to the number 4 of Raleigh. Grant Davis behind him, Bruce Ackerman and Bronson Stafford go side by side, 39 to the outside of the racetrack, and here comes the charge. Stafford wants to lead the way, the 56 sees that. Wendell Stratton gonna jump to the outside into 39, he'll go 3 wide and leave that 56 out to dry, not having any of it.
That's a move right there. Went down to the bottom, said, nope, I still got to run. Let's move back to the outside. Of course, he's got that 0.25 of Steve Bonesteel there, giving him the push. That's what gave him that momentum. But you can see just how it did, how much momentum they had. They go into the corner, they lose it on that top side, the bottom side, able to recover and keep that momentum going, at least for the time being. And at 0.25, Steve Bonesteel, he's going to drop back down to the bottom. He'll get one more position, hopefully, from that 39 of Bronson Stafford. But that's exactly what we see at this type of racetrack. You get that run, it looks like you're carrying all that speed, you hit into that corner, it's just like hitting a brick wall basically of air, and that car really just slows down. It gets all that momentum back to the bottom.
Yeah, Bonesteel able to get around the 39 there. It's a good driving by him, and that was, like you said, a very aggressive move by Stafford there last time around as they came down the super stretch. But really, yeah, like you said, it's this back half of the field, people are starting to get aggressive. However, if you look back out front, the top probably, I don't know, 6 or 7 cars, they're still all single file, although the 02 of James Haley, he's now starting to get that outside line moving, and he's got the 6 car of Marco Polo pushing him behind.
The outside is there, and now they're going to make that charge to the front. The 33 of Corey Hoover going to be one of the drivers who hops on the train to the outside of the racetrack. They're going to get up next to the number 05 of Casey Kelly on the inside. You got Cody and Casey Kelly working 2nd and 3rd in line on the inside of the racetrack. One in a Chevrolet, one in a Ford, but neither of them are going to elect to go to the outside. The 15 tries to shut the door. He did that earlier on. That time did not work. In fact, it might have. They almost wrecked. The 33 made an evasive movement to the outside of the racetrack. It didn't stall out the outside's momentum, so that's one way to do it. I don't think it's necessarily how Yarbrough had it planned, but he did want to go up to the outside to kind of stun that momentum just a little bit. Not quite clear, though. A close call, and that 33 of Hoover does a good job of getting back down the line to lead that second lane before the 44 got a chance to hang him out to dry.
Yeah, absolutely. As they go around a lap car right now, that looks like the 25 machine of Justin Munsell on all the way to the high side. They'll get around him fairly easily. But yeah, you can see that momentum they were carrying, and Yarbrough just darted right up there to block it. And it worked, but it wouldn't have worked if it caused a huge wreck. So you got to be careful when you do that, especially at this racetrack coming up there like that, because everyone's mentality at this racetrack for Indy is foot to the floor on that gas pedal. They don't even think of the brake unless they're coming down for a pit stop. So when you jump out on the front of a guy like that, they don't even think twice about even lifting or tapping the brakes. It's all about staying the foot in it, and that's usually why why we see those cautions come out like we do.
Yeah, there was definitely a narrow margin of error there for Austin when he made that move, and he almost caught the front fender of Corey Hoover there, and that would have been absolutely disastrous. That wreck would have happened in front of absolutely everyone. As now the 33 car gets a big run off of turn 2, and he's going to be side by side with Yarbrough as they go into turn 3 of it.
Side by side they go. Problem is, turn 3, not a place to be. Try to make the move because the guys on the inside, they go to the bottom of those 33, 34 degrees of banking. The guys on the outside, you're almost going up the hill, so you lose a little bit of speed. Where that goes to the flip side is off the corner. The outside gets a huge run from that top down back to the flat, and that's really where you want to try to line up the bumpers and a push, but you got to get clear before you hit the corner, because other than that, you're not going to have much of a chance when you get to the center. So the 33 continues to work, and now you got to watch it because they give a couple of shots at it, not working so far. They're going to start to put the side draft on them and pinch down. You're seeing Hoover do it, and that's when things can get really tight in the corners.
Yeah, absolutely. You start using that side draft as well. We see that a lot as well coming to these plate tracks, is the guys trying to use that side draft, and the problem with that is you get so close to those cars, just a slight little bobble on the bottom, a touch of the apron, anything like that will push those cars on the bottom up into you, and again, that'll cause one of the big wrecks as well. So that 33 doing a great job on the outside line, at least staying up there, battling for that race lead, just not quite getting the timing just right with that 44. Michael Lureria, they're just not quite getting that push they need on the exit of the corner to get that 33 back up to the race lead. Of course, he led about the first 10 laps of this race, so he's not too shy there from starting on the pole. He's led a bunch of laps. He just wants to get back up there, and he's doing a great job, at least trying to keep that spot. He's in a good spot to at least get it. The problem is just getting that timing down just right. Maybe a couple more cars to the top side to help him get it done.
Yeah, you just kind of mentioned it there a little bit, Andy, and it's gonna be really unfortunate for the 33 here. That top lane has just sort of fallen apart. Although he does get a big run off of turn 4, and he might be able to lead himself a lap here. But right now, there's really only 4 cars up there in that outside lane, and we've been seeing it early on. You need about 6 or 7 to really make a long-standing fight there on the outside. If this stays 3 cars out here, I think that the 33 of Hoover, Michael Area, and Jamie Haley, I think we'll see them all just drop down this field.
3 cars on the outside, they're still there. They're stubborn fighters. They're not going to give up, but once you start to lose the support there, it's going to be bad. The 78 goes to the inside, back to the outside, so Joe Lawrence going to try to provide that little bit of an extra push that those guys top side need. 3-1 again, second time on this green flag stint. We've seen number 25 lose the lap. Justin Munsell now 8 laps actually to the negative in 31st position. He is the only driver off of the lead lap that is still actively on the racetrack. Trevor Rapolo, Michael Finlayson, and Jacob Adams are all sitting multiple laps down. Caution flag is out, second time tonight. And we look behind the lead pack to find the cause of this one.
Yeah, we got to look a lot further back. It looks like the 45 machine of Carl Shed involved in that one there. So not something we see from that 45. We started 3rd on the starting grid here tonight as the replay goes up on the screen, and just not exactly, I guess, what you would expect from a guy that started up towards the front. But we really can't blame him at all for what it was. It was just a problem. Somebody getting into the wall. Looks like the 025 of Bone Steel there making contact, and he had nowhere to go right there.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to that car, Andy. It shot up the hill. There was a lot of fire coming out of the side of it, so there's a lot of backfire going on. He lost a lot of speed. I don't know if he bounced off the fence and had lost control of the car, had an issue, with a monitor or something, or if he was trying to get down to pit road. But he comes right down, and Carl Shed, again, the one that's going to go around, that's going to be charged with the caution flag. But there was nothing really that 45 could have done.
Yeah, I'm really not sure what happened to Steve Bonesteel here. He got the car that ended up coming across and catching the 45. He got a shot from the 38 coming off of turn 4, got him out of that inside lane, but once he got to the outside lane, it's almost like he totally got out of the gas. I don't know if he may have just gotten out of the gas, realized he was going to get freight trained, and was just watching his mirror to try to get down to the inside, may have not been paying enough attention and drove himself into the wall. I think that's, the most realistic thing that could have happened here.
The second time tonight, a caution flag, first in turn 2, now in turn number 4, and all things considered, both relatively small accidents by the Talladega Superspeedway's standard. At Austin Yarborough, second time tonight, going to bring the field out of turn number 4, and they're going to be just on that bubble. We're trying to make it on fuel from here to the end of this race, but Austin Yarbrough going to bring your leaders down once again, second time tonight for some yellow flag service. So they'll get those cars fixed up, they'll get set to do it all over again, and we close it on the halfway point of the Traumatic Brain Injury Awareness 250 at Talladega. We'll take this opportunity, step away for a quick break, and be back in a moment. You're watching Race Spot TV's coverage of iRacing's NASCAR Race Night. Back live from Lincoln, Alabama, the Talladega Super Speedway, the host to the 14th round on the 2016 Checkered Flag Racing League's Cup Series. And right now, close it in on the end of this one, because in 2 or 3 laps from now, going to be at the halfway point of the second annual Traumatic Brain Injury Awareness 250. We're happy to have you with us along for the ride tonight for a special presentation of iRacing's NASCAR Race Night. Let's take a quick talk about this championship picture, Andy Kessler. We have right now 12 drivers have an opportunity to battle for the Top Motorsports Cup Series Championship. Shane Terrian, Chris Wright, Nick Mason, Bradley Burke, they're in a very good spot. They're at the top of this grid. Jamie Haley, Shane Terrian, Trevor Rapolo, but then you got Adam de Blasio tied with Brendan Bedonia for the final transfer spot. They are 8th and 9th in the championship, and then Raleigh Grant Davis, Mark Rapolo, and Austin Yarbrough are the drivers 10, 11, and 12. Again, top 8, the magic number to move on, and we've seen a couple of those names near that bubble find themselves in some issues tonight. Trevor Rapolo above the cut line into tonight, a 32nd place result inbound for him after being caught up in an accident that could open up the door for somebody else.
Oh, it absolutely could. And I mean, you got to look at Adam de Blasio too as well, sitting 28th right now. I mean, obviously he's got plenty of time to get himself back up towards the front, but when you're those guys that are that so close to that bubble there for that transfer spot in, it makes it real tough when you're racing at a place like this. And you know, in running Martinsville as well, that's coming up on the schedule. Those are just as bad as those short track races, because anything can happen at those as well. But they're nerve-wracking for these drivers. They got to be able to get a good finish. It's all about survival. We talk about it, and a lot of them just would breathe, a top 15 finish, and they'd be overjoyed with a lot of these guys. So it's going to be something to watch for some of those guys that are right there on that bubble. Those guys maybe even on the outside looking in, that might have an opportunity here tonight with a solid top 5 or top 10 finish to get themselves in.
Yeah, you were talking about people who are on the bubble. Someone who's actually beyond the bubble, who's been running very, very well here, has been Austin Yarbrough. He's currently P6 after this pit-stop cycle. Not sure what happened to lose him so many spots. However, he's shown great power, and he's led a good chunk of this race here. It'll be interesting to see if a lot of these guys who get themselves into trouble, if he can get himself a win here, if he can get himself into that top 8 transfer position.
It's the ultimate goal for these guys, and as Andy mentioned, basically any track that's going to be coming up on the calendar not fun news for these guys because Martinsville is part of the next round. In fact, it's the opening race for the round of 12 in the Checkered Flag Racing League Top Motorsports Cup Series. Lights back on for the pace car, so we're going to get set to go back at it. One lap shy of crossing over the halfway point. We'll take a peek at your iRacing.com Midway Race Report here in just a moment, but let's take a look at least where the top couple of guys are going to be for this restart. Couple of changes for position. Jamie Haley now in control of the field with Dalton Alexander to the outside of row number 1 in P2. Bronson Stafford, Shane Terrian, and Walker Thomas are going to be positioned 3, 4, and 5. And we still sit with 28 cars on the lead lap. Looks like that 02 Andy going to elect to take the outside for the restart.
Yeah, it's an interesting call here on the outside lane. He's got the ability to time the restart, I guess, just right, but only if he's going to get some help from that 37 machine that's right below him. If he's going to like maybe stutter it a little bit on the start and let him get in front of him, maybe there are a couple teammates there or a couple of guys that are looking to work together. But that's an interesting call at the restrictor plate because we know that bottom side is usually the place to be.
Pace car going to make the turn inside. An interesting thing to note is that Bronson Stafford and Shane Terrian 3rd and 4th started 33rd and 34th. They're both up 30 positions from where they were just 46 laps ago. Second time tonight out of the tri-oval. Green flag back in the air across the start-finish, on and underway. And for your leader, Jamie Haley, an interesting move to decide to take the outside because here comes Alexander. Battle for the race lead advantage has to go to that bottom lane.
I can't believe he did that, because you can just see right there that top side just doesn't get the momentum. It took a little bit there for the 38 to get to his back bumper as well. So that just gives that bottom side, Dalton Alexander, he probably, when he chose that outside line, he was probably grinning from year to year saying, all right, I'll take the lead from you.
Yeah, I think Haley may have expected a couple people to try to stay to the outside and really start powering on. This is going to be the halfway mark of this race here. I think he expected some people to maybe get a little bit more aggressive. Specifically, I think Austin Yarbrough, who we saw him leading, is now shuffled down to P6. Definitely an interesting decision, like you said, to jump to that outside, although I think he may have just led that lap there. Yeah, he led that lap there by 1,000th of a second. He's got himself back out front. He gets down to the inside. Maybe not such an interesting decision after all.
Credit has to go to Shane Terrian in that one. That might have been the decision maker. If they're working together, stay up there with the 38, because that 38 didn't drop to the inside like we have seen everybody else do, and now the 38 is going to be able to get in line in front of the 02. So if they were trying to get together, it might have just worked out for him, and if that was the case, Haley may have not wanted to leave that 38 to the outside of 02 by himself, because he probably would have gone backwards. So whether by design or not, nonetheless, the guys on the outside of rows 1 and 2 for the restarts are going to end up P1 and 2. First time tonight we have seen the outside lane really take the advantage of a restart here tonight at Talladega. That 15 of Austin Yarbrough falls back a little bit. We talked a little bit about his picture in the championship standings, and he needs a good result tonight to have a hope of moving on. Well, he'll drop back to the 56 of Wendell Stratton and the 75 of Cody Kelly there as well. 3 drivers on the outside of the racetrack. The support coming inbound from R. Trent Brown and the 78 of Joe Lawrence. So we'll see what those guys up top can do.
Yeah, the support's coming into the picture. They got to get bunched up, though. Otherwise, they're going to fall back quite a bit here. And it's going to allow at least 6 cars, 5 cars at least, to get out front and get them separated here. That 56 of Wendell Stratton really needs to get to that back bumper. I know he's probably trying real hard as Austin Yarbrough's saying, all right, listen, I've lost enough spots. I got to get back down to the bottom, and he chooses to do that here at this moment. But I'm sure once that top side starts getting some more momentum, you'll see guys like him or guys in that 12 machine, Walker Thomas, who we haven't talked about all night long, started 15th up to the 5th spot. And you'll see these guys start to bounce out to the top side once that top side starts getting that momentum. But for the time being right now, 6 cars, single file now on the bottom.
Yeah, they're running themselves pretty calm here up out at the front at the moment, and really throughout the whole field there's only about 5 or 6 cars through the entire pack that are up on that outside lane. Everyone else running that inside. I think a lot of people know that, hey, we can't make it on fuel right now. There's no real reason to push hard and get yourself out front unless we get yellows. So I think a lot of people are thinking we might stay clean here for the rest of this event.
Single file they go, a little bit past the halfway point, but let's take a look at our iRacing Midway Race Break, brought to you by iRacing, the world's premier online racing game featuring professionally organized sim racing from NASCAR, IndyCar, the IMSA, and more. Shane Terry in P1 at the moment after starting in 34th position with Jamie Haley in P2 and Dalton Alexander in 3rd. Bronson Stafford 4th. Walker Thomas right now running into number 5 spot. Austin Yarbrough back in 6th. Corey Hoover 7th side by side back here for the 8th positions on deep. You got Thomas Bressey, the 3rd score in that number 8 position. Wendell Stratton going to break through. He was scored 9th the last time by. I'm pretty sure that's going to be able to launch him up to the number 6 position. A good gain for him. And then just behind P10 was Casey Kelly. Kelly also going to fall way back. Joe Lawrence now in 10th.
And Corey Hoover in that 33 is going to currently be scored in that 11th spot. 12th goes to Mark Rapolo. Thomas Bressey will sit in the 13th spot. 14th goes to Casey Kelly. Gunther Dadson will be 15th currently. 16th goes to Cole Lagunia. Raleigh Davis is 17th. 18th is Michael Herrera. Jeffrey Robichon is 19th, and 20th that 21 machine of Adam de Blasio.
Yeah, and rounding out the last year guys on the lead lap here, running 21st was Michael Skinner, 22nd Michael Thompson, 23rd Thomas Jowers Jr., 23rd Jason Thompson, 24th Jason Thompson, 25th Bruce Ackerman, 26th Nick Mass, Chris Wright 27th, and the last car currently running on the lead lap is Brendan Madonia in 28th.
And then Carl Shedd, 6 laps down, his night is done. Steve Bonesteel, 11 laps down, his night is down as well. They're 29th and 30th, 31st through 34th. Justin Munsell, Trevor Rapolo, Michael Finlayson, and Jacob Adams, all involved in those earlier accidents. That's a look at your iRacing Midway Race Break. For more information on the wide variety of sim racing possibilities online, visit iRacing.com and sign up today. You can also use the promo code PR-RaceSpotNASCAR. Get a 3-month iRacing subscription for the price of one at just $5. Valid on new memberships only. So up front, they look calm. Deep in the pack, they look a little bit discombobulated, but they're still going at it nonetheless. And again, that caution flag, the most recent, right at about 45 laps to go. Pretty much struck it right at the halfway point, Andy. I'm not so sure that these guys are safe on the field. That's pretty tight.
Yeah, it's going to be awfully close. Maybe some of the guys in the back trying to save some fuel, maybe, but we always know that guy leading the pack is always burning a lot more fuel because he doesn't have that ability to basically feather the throttle through the corners like a lot of these guys do when you're behind these cars. You really have to, they feather the throttle off and on with it. They'll touch the brakes a little bit, so they save a little bit more fuel when you're actually back behind some cars. So obviously that leader, Shane Terrian, he's got to be watching that fuel gauge as well, saying if it's really close, he's got to think about maybe backing off a little bit, maybe swapping places with some of these guys to maybe save some fuel, because when you're up there leading, you're definitely burning the most.
Well, Shane Terrian and Bronson Stafford on that last yellow, they already pulled the strategy audible because they're both the guys that stayed out and moved themselves up from running and down, down deep in at the tail end of the top 30. And they stayed out, got themselves up into that second row. So I think these guys realized they couldn't make it, pulled the audible, got themselves a great track position, and I actually think if we stay green, this is going to work out hugely in their favor because right now they just have to ride. Everybody has to stop anyways. I think this is a hugely beneficial strategy move on their parts.
And you don't normally think of a place like a Talladega Superspeedway to be a place where strategy comes to fruition, but those caution flags always tend to be pesky and fall at funny points in this race that put you in those exact scenarios, positions where you can call an audible and see if it works out for you. You're going to have a game plan, no doubt, going into the race. Very rarely are you going to be able to execute that strategy, word for word, start to finish in this one. This race, Talladega, the nature of these tracks is all about going with the flow of things and make the best of what you got, and that could be a very similar situation there with what those guys are trying to do, and so far looking pretty good with doing on the fuel call. Two drivers going to go top side, the 78 of Joe Lawrence, followed by the 33 of Corey Hoover. Nobody else bites yet. Let's see if anybody going to jump up top with them, give them some support. They're inside the top 10. They're about 7 car lengths back for the race leader. Not going to get any further without some help. Close call on the inside. But Anya Brown pushed up just a little bit and a little bit close for comfort that time.
Yeah, it looks like they're using that side draft pretty good. They're up about 3 or 4 spots since they got out to that outside, so I would definitely say that those two guys have probably made the best of being in only 2 cars now, as the 98 actually jumps up right behind him, Trent Brown, and he's going to try to help with that. The 39 now jumps out in front of him, trying to help that. So that's just exactly what we see. Once you get 2 guys brave enough to start that run on the outside, then you start seeing guys start to pull up there and say, hey, wait a minute, if they're going, then I'm going to join with them. So that's exactly what you see right there, especially with that 39 of Bronson Stafford, and now he finds himself side by side for that second, third spot now.
Oh, we got a spin in the back. We got a record coming through the trial one back. Excuse me, sorry for interrupting there. It was Casey Kelly. Casey Kelly just got spun going through the tri-oval here.
Caution flag will fly for that. Problems for the 05 Machine Kelly, who was going through the tri-oval. A second look to show us what happened. He was one of the lone drivers up on the outside of the racetrack, and that 6 got into him. I mentioned that we got really, really close in the tri-oval up inside the top 5, and the thing there is, you see those guys on the inside, there are 3 lanes all the way around Talladega. There's 2 set of white hash marks. Well, a 4th lane appears in the tri-oval. A lot of guys go down there. The 6 elected to not do it. The 05 expected him to be down about an extra lane. They make contact to the Kelly straight up the fence and hard into the outside wall for the 3rd yellow on the evening.
Yeah, you know, and it's funny, Evan, that sometimes with those that 4th lane that basically magically appears on the entrance of pit road right there, is the banking actually goes away. That part of the racetrack is actually pretty flat right there, and it makes it pretty tricky at sometimes with certain setups that going down there, it'll make that car actually kind of loose. So a lot of guys try to avoid it, and that may be why that 6 machine didn't go down there. But pit road will be open. It looks like everybody going to come down again. So this should definitely possibly allow these guys to make it all the way to the end. So that should make a great finish to this one.
Yeah, it'll be about 36. Well, from here, it's about 36, 35 laps to the end. So it's definitely going to be close regardless, I think. And, you know, we're probably going to get the green here with 32 or so to go. And actually, I heard some contact on pit road. I'm not sure who that might have been, but there's incidents even forming here on the pit lane.
Yeah, not only is getting down to pit road difficult, but especially at a plate track where you come down, you get fuel, and you go. Some of the guys who we talk about, people who qualified outside the top 30 that are running inside the top 15, they have very early pit stalls. They can be in and out while still many cars are coming down to the pit lane, and for the most part, you're not going to find contact on the pit road, but if you're out in the center of pit road, to the right-hand side of it where most of the traveling on pit road goes down, contact there is going to happen, and it's never guaranteed. The good thing is it's a yellow, so you can get the car fixed back up. But again, any sort of setback at Talladega is really going to sting, because you look at this and you talk about how these guys have started now and gone 60 laps basically to get themselves into the positions that they have been in. You don't want something silly like that, to kind of ash you up. I made a point earlier in the race, Andy, of noting that if we get a race where more than half of the drivers that started inside the top 10 finish inside the top 10, that would be an abnormality. Well, right now, there's only 4, and that fall under that category. Bronson Stafford, who started second, is third. Jamie Haley and Austin Yarbrough, who started 9th and 4th, run 5th and 6th. And then Wendell Stratton, who started P6, is back in 9th position. I'd say the average starting position there inside the top 10 is somewhere around 21st.
Yeah, you're definitely right. That's why these races are so popular with the drivers, whether it's league or it's on the official side. Is they're just they're that great equalizer. Everybody can win. Everybody has an opportunity. It doesn't matter where you start. You cannot qualify and start dead last and still have an opportunity to win this type of race. So it's definitely it makes it for a lot of fun, and that is why the drivers love it so much. Is that it's just it's a lot of fun to race as fast as they are, so close that they are to them. But there's a lot of consequences that go to it as well, as getting caught up in some of those wrecks that we see time and time again, the multi-car wrecks, the big ones, we could say. But you can definitely see that where you got those guys that started deeper in the field now find themselves with an opportunity to get a solid finish here tonight, maybe even a win.
Yeah, the other thing to talk about is we have people that have been running strong all night, such as Corey Hoover. He's currently running down in 16th. Joe Lawrence is in 15th. They're the handful of guys that have been running in that top 5 or even towards the front of the field or out towards the, to the middle, to the back of this pack right now. And I think a lot of these guys are going to be, they're going to have to be very, very aggressive here once we get this green flag. There is not a lot of time left for them to sit and wait. They have to pretty much go if you're outside the top 15 or so.
But I think we're all in agreement that this caution flag and then subsequently everybody coming down for service is going to be enough to get us to the end of this race on fuel. Does that mean that this is go time quite yet? Because there is still plenty of time. If you look at the numbers, we're going to have another yellow before this race is done, just based on the yellows that we've seen so far tonight. And, you know, if you've ever been at a Talladega race, very rarely do you see a late race caution flag like this, and these guys stay with a level head through the rest of the race. So the question is it go time? Do you get up and go now? Do you continue to sag back? Because we talked about strategy in these races, and there are two distinct groups and a couple of guys in the middle. But Randy had pointed out, Andy, that there's guys that like to stay up front and stay in front of the middle where an accident may happen, and there's guys that like to stay back behind where an accident may happen. Well, if you say it's go time now with 30 laps and change left to go, the guys that are hanging back, they have to drive right through that danger zone. I'm not necessarily sure that those guys are going to go quite yet.
Yeah, and you know what, honestly, I think that fuel is going to be close because we're actually seeing a couple of the guys that were up towards the front. Cody Kelly was going to restart, I think, in that front row there. Him and Austin Yarborough, both of those guys came back down pit road to top off. So I'm actually quite interested to see how this fuel strategy is going to play out, because maybe it is going to be pretty close to about maybe a 30 to 35 laps that these guys can get on fuel. So maybe it is going to be close. But now you're talking about some of those guys that started closer to the front of this race. Cody Kelly started second, now scored a 22nd here for this restart. And for guys like that, is it time to go? You would say no, they got time. But if you wait too long, you get a couple more cautions, or you're caught up in one of those cautions because you waited there in the back, then you're going to probably be kicking yourself, saying, I should have went when I had the opportunity. So I really think that around this point, when you get about to that 30 lap mark, 35 laps to go, this is when you're going to see a lot of these guys really start to push the issue. You're going to see guys taking more chances. You're going to see guys trying to go 3 or 4 wide to try to get that extra spot, or to keep that run going and get themselves to the front, because and quite honestly, a couple more cautions, that takes another 10 laps off the board as well. So that's why we see more cautions towards the end of these races, is because everybody at this point, they're had enough with just riding around. They want to get to the front. When everybody wants to get to the front, that's when you get in trouble.
Yeah, I actually think you're exactly right, Andy, on fuel being close. We saw the 55 here. He was going to restart this race in first. He came down pit lane, filled up, and not only did he fill up, but he made sure he was the last car off pit road, which tells me that he probably wants as much draft as possible, and is going to want to do as little fighting as possible, and he's probably going to be looking to save as much as he can. There's a handful of cars in front of him coming down pit lane, though. I don't know if they're laps down, or actually, no, they're not. Austin Yarborough comes down again, as does Cody Kelly. So this is really, really going to be tight, and I think these guys towards the back who are taking these times, or these caution laps to come down, fill up just a little bit more, they're going to be in very, very beneficial positions at the end of this race.
So they want to make sure that they are good. And again, if you're short by a lap or two, it's not that bad of news, because, again, you can probably count on seeing a yellow. And then also, the tire strategy can tell us something as well. Your race leader, the 30 out of Bronson Stafford, who is out in front of the field, caution flag came down and was serviced with everybody else. He took left side tires only. So, right sides are going to be left on for a lot of these guys. Tires have not been a huge factor tonight, and a lot depends on the weather and if you're running at Talladega or Daytona. But I don't think the tires are big enough of a factor to force somebody back down to the pit lane to get some more service. If we get a yellow, say with 20 laps to go, will they come down and top off? Maybe. That could give the advantage to the guys at the back, but I don't think the tires are a big enough advantage that would bring you back down pit road. I think right now the biggest concern is fuel. Second consecutive time, our race leader, Andy, wants the outside. Bronson Stafford going to go to the outside of the front row. So he will line up to the outside of Jamie Haley. And Haley, Randy, is going to be on the inside, although he is P2.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting. We saw this last restart that the leader chose that outside lane. I believe it is Shane Tiernan, and so I think the 39 saw that, realized it might be beneficial of him, and he's going to try to make it work as well.
The pace car going to make the sharp left-hand dive once again and watch for the outside lane. to bring us back to it. The 39, the 02, the 37, the 12, and the 38 going to bring us back to green flag back in the air this time by 32 laps to go at Talladega.
Good strong start there by the 39, and that's the first time all race we've seen that outside lane get themselves a good jump on the restart. Walker Thomas is going to try to, I think, make something happen here to get himself an extra spot. He's stucking up to the back of Stafford right now. He's probably going to give him a push as they come off of turn 2, going down into turn 3. And that 02 car, he wants to get himself going too. He's saying, he's undoubtedly yelling in his head at the 37 Dalton Alexander to come up and push.
He knows that they need to take advantage of this, and they need to do it now to move to the inside. Good for the 39. The 12 appears to be clear. He waits a moment, second guessing himself, something that you don't want to do here late, but he does eventually get that spot back down in line, and the odd man out of that 3-car tangle on the outside of the racetrack is going to be Cole Begonia, who started this race back in the number 18 position, was P5 across the start-finish line, so he will now lead the outside charge. 78, 44, 95 going to come in behind and help him out.
Yeah, definitely unfortunate there for Cole to being that odd man out, but like you said, he's got 4 or 5 cars now behind him, and that's been about the magic number for this outside lane all race long. Tiernan actually jumps up to the outside as well, so a 6-car line up here on the outside. Several of them are front runners we've seen all race long. A couple of them are guys who have full strategy and work themselves out front using these yellows, so it'll be interesting to see if they can work themselves forward. If these guys are fighting like this, I think fuel might just be fine.
Yeah, they don't look like they're trying to conserve and get to the end of this one. Again, the guys that came in to top off might be looking for just a little bit of reassurance, but other than that, I don't think these guys, at least appearing, as you just said, looking like that the fuel is going to be on their mind, or they may know that they're going to be a little bit shy on fuel, but maybe they think everybody else is. Nonetheless, they're driving like they're inside of the final 30 laps at Talladega that time by 3-0 left to go. Look at the 38 of Tyrion. He'll jump from the inside to the outside up in front of the 7 of Begonia, and he leads now into turn number 3, trying to challenge Stafford for the race lead.
Yeah, Shane Tiernan has jumped in and out of that outside lane several times now on that lap, and he's definitely fighting hard. And actually, up in front, Bronson Stafford tries to cut off the momentum of that lane. He ruins his own momentum, though, and Walker Thomas is going to go to the point on this inside. Bronson Stafford there trying to cut off the momentum on the outside. And actually, we got a spin behind, and 44 is the round going into turn 1. And then
they scatter and big
behind.
Accident. They almost avoided it. The 44 bent out of shape. That was Michael Larrea, and now the yellow flag will fly at lap number 66. Another checkup once again. Coming down to turn number 3, they got a little bit tight. Take a look at a Race Spot TV replay, and he just got hooked. The 95 got to the left rear, and that car went around in a hurry, and he was down on the apron. All was fine, but he came back up in a huge accident down in turn number 1. Going to collect several fast race cars.
Oh yeah, certainly. And I think a good number of fast race cars. Michael Area got a piece of that. Austin Yarbrough got a piece of that. So some of our guys who have led laps here. One person to know who managed to miss it was Cody Kelly. He was really the only one who didn't ARCA brake into that wreck there. He just checked down to the apron, just held the brakes, and just was patient. And he got himself through that wreck clean.
Yeah, a couple of the guys in the back going to be collected as well. Couldn't get them checked up in time or saw a hole, went for it, and it closed before they were subsequently able to get to that spot. And a couple of guys, as you mentioned, in the back wanted nothing to do with it, and they just came down to a complete stop down into turn 1, waited for all the wrecking cars to slide down to the apron and then get back up and get going. And they're going to gain spots and all of that, because we will see, how many spots they gain. It takes a big chunk out of what's left of the lead lap. Many accidents tonight now. 4th caution flag on the evening, Randy. Still no big one, and we're slowly running out of cars to have the possibility of a big one remain. It ever so lurks, but a lot of small accidents so far tonight as opposed to any major junk.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of, like you said, these small accidents are slowly adding up to a big one, but something to note with this chase here, Marco Polo and Austin Yarbrough, 2 of our guys who are running the top 11th and 12th currently in the points right now. They got pieces of that wreck, so that's their chase dreams absolutely done. Right now, if you're someone who's in that top 8, possible, or towards the tail end of that top 8, possibly might get shuffled out of it, you're extraordinarily happy to see those guys who had strong race cars go out of this race event.
That last one, the biggest one that we have seen so far tonight, going to bring the number of lead lap cars down for the first time inside of just 20. Now in this restart, as Andy had mentioned before, going to bring us to 25 laps to go. And now the yellows take a big chunk out of these races because, you know, we cautioned, all right, maybe not quite time to go yet for the guys deep in the pack, but now inside of the final 25, you look at a yellow's going to eat up at least 5 laps of action. You get 2, you get 3 more caution flags. That's a lot of the green flag laps gone if we do see a couple of more yellows from here to the end. The age-old saying that cautions breed cautions will never ring more true than it would in this scenario right here. So we will have to see. But now those guys, you don't want to hang back too long and then get kind of forced into a position, where you're in dire stresses and have to get going. And then you start panicking and you start running out of time, and that's when things can go downhill quick.
Yeah, these guys, I think, that are running towards the tail end that want to move themselves forward, there's only about a 5 to 10 lap window, I think, where they can really afford to be patient. And something to note here, in the top 10, only 2 cars currently in the top 10 qualified there, and only 4 of those cars qualified inside of the top 20. So some huge shakers up here in this top 10, and I think these guys that have moved themselves to the front, they knew they may not be very strong. I think they're going to have to be aggressive here to try to hold off some of these guys that have qualified well and have been running up to the front most of the race.
So we hit the reset button. We get to do it all over again, Andy. 25 laps to go. We've got about 20 cars still left in this race. The fuel, I think, the fuel question is now behind us, because if anybody was going to be pushing it, they probably would have come down and topped off. So it looks like everybody's going to be able to get good on fuel. The question is now, how many lanes do we see at these final 25 laps? Because I think now you most definitely have to get up on the wheel. If you want to win this race, now's the time to do it. We did say, though, as interesting as it sounds to say, there are a couple of people that may not necessarily be here trying to win the race. Some guys just need to get through with the top 10 and get on to the next round.
Yeah, and that's what it's all about when you're talking the championship run, is just making it to that next round, making it to the round after that. And as it starts to dwindle down to those 4 guys to battle it out in that final race, that's when it gets really crazy, and that's when you'll see guys really start to step up to the plate and get those wins and get themselves moved in and get those good points nights. So tonight's all about survival, getting into that next round, trying to get a decent finish, surviving, at least staying on the lead lap, because we only have 17 left on the lead lap. So talk about that, getting a good finish, getting yourself moved into that next round, and once that happens, then you can start racing again next week, and that's when it's back in the driver's hands.
Yeah, it certainly is, but I think what the big racing we're going to see here today are the people who aren't in that chase really at all, people who are shuffled down on the owner, and people who have been running out of position all race. I think we're going to have ourselves in a fantastic last 24, 25 laps of this event, Evan.
It's going to be exciting. How many cars stand at the end of it all is going to be the new question that replaces the question of fuel strategy. Expecting the lights to go off this time with Walker Thomas in control of the field. Jamie Haley, Bronson Stafford, some of the names that we've talked a little bit more about in comparison to the 12th tonight. Dalton Alexander and Shane Terrian inside the top 5. And then you have the 7 of Cole Bagania, Gunther Dadson, Raleigh, Grant Davis, Jeffrey Robichaud, and Bruce Ackerman inside of the top 10 positions. Jason Thompson, Joe Lawrence, Corey Hoover, Nick Macy, Cody Kelly through 15th, Chris Wright, Thomas Jowers Jr. Those are the 17 names that remain. Toss them into a hat, lights off on the pace car, but they will go back on one additional time around before we take the green.
Yeah, it looks like trying to get some guys lined up here and hopefully get them all back up where they need to be. It looks like some guys not quite where they needed to be, so they throw that out for one more lap here and just make these guys have to think that much more about what they're going to do, what moves they're going to make, what lane are they going to pick here in these opening laps, especially as they start to click down. This is where you're going to see even that top side really take into effect earlier than what we've seen most of the night here. Usually those first 5 to 8 laps or so, we'd see everyone fight to get to the bottom. But I think at this point in the race, Randy, you're going to see these guys maybe try to get that top side to work that much quicker.
Yeah, the first few restarts we saw that it was all about that inside lane. However, we've seen on these last couple restarts, and including this one by the looks of it, people have been shooting that outside line as Walker Thomas is the leading car, and he's got himself up on the high side right now. And this last restart we saw, actually, the leader, I believe it was Shane Tiernan, he picked the outside, and we all kind of were curious about why he did that. And then at the end of that first lap, he got himself out front along with the guy that went to the outside with him. So I really think people are really rethinking about their opinion on what lane they choose, and I think the outside line here is going to be really, really strong and much more aggressive.
So the restart was due to come up this time. Couple of guys towards the back of the pack. Just a few names, though, at the bottom of that list of 17 that I went through. Do have some damage, but are going to continue to truck on and try to get a solid finish. I mean, it's better than the guys that wrecked earlier outside the top 30. So you don't see a lot of it at the plate tracks. Haven't seen really any of it tonight, but Jowers and a couple of other guys coming down, getting service, going back out there, and that caused the lights on top of the pace car to turn back on. So everybody towards the back on rows 8, 9, and whatnot, they could find themselves in the correct position. So this time by, the light's going to go off on top of the pace car. We're going to go back green to take lap number 72 of 94. It is going to leave us with just 23 laps to go.
Yeah, just 23 to go. This is the time, and I look through these top 10 and standings here so far, Evan, and your whole prediction is absolutely true, because only 2 guys left in that top 10 that started in the top 10, and that makes it pretty interesting. That just shows you how great the racing is when you come to these racetracks, and how quickly guys can come to the front, go to the back, go back to the front. The positions change quite frequently here.
Yeah, it certainly is. I think the car that we really need to watch here is Corey Hoover, that our pole sitter. He shoved himself back down to 14th place, and we know he's fast. He's been up in that top 5 all race long, up until recently with the yellow cycles. I think he's going to be very, very aggressive here, and I would be not surprised if we see him fighting for the win here at the end of this race.
Could be for the final time on tonight's race. You got to make sure that you're in the conversation, tweeting and using the hashtag TBIA250, and make sure you're following at the CFRL. That's THECFRL for a chance to win $15 in iRacing credits after the checkered flag. The pace car going to go down to the inside. Could it be the final time this evening? Leader elects the outside. Green flag in the way. We're back at it at Talladega with 23 laps to go.
Yeah, great jump on that outside lane. Look at the 12, Walker Thomas. Jumped out to about 2-car lane lead there. Plenty of time for him to drop down to the bottom. So that would be exactly why he took that top side right there on that restart. Timed it just right. The problem is the momentum coming back up. The 0-2 all over the back bumper. Awfully quick there. He had the help, of course, from that 39 of Bronson Stafford. That'll give him the shove. Get that 12 back up to speed here. And bottom side's going to prevail. Only 2 on the top. Surprised by that here. I would think a couple more guys were trying to get that lane going here, but right now only 2 of those guys, and they're not quite bunched up, so that bottom side's going to prevail off forward.
Yeah, if Walker Thomas was wanting to work with that 37 of Dalton Alexander, his dreams have been pretty much crushed, and that car is now getting shuffled, I believe, outside of the top 5 once they come across the start-finish line, so that's not good, I think, for them. However, up here in this top 6 or 7, all single file, I think within the next 3 or 4 laps here, if not sooner, we're going to see people jumping up to the outside, and we're probably going to see an equal number of cars in each lane here.
Outside lane non-existent after the drop of the green flag. Just 2 cars up on the top coming out of turn number 2, but it worked enough for your leader Thomas to get down in front, so he got everything he needed out of it. The 95 going to go up the inside to the 37, Dalton Alexander, the lone driver on the top side, trying the outside lane. 78-48, that's a 2-car tandem that doesn't want to work with him. Alexander drops back down to the inside, and now the 78, the 48 remain the only drivers on the outside of the racetrack. It's funny because we'll see 2-3 wide all night long. You get to the final 20, and they go single file, because everybody now, what they've done from lap 1 through 73 now, as we take lap 74 to start finish on, is they've been testing the waters. They've been seeing who's going to do what. At this point now, you're trying to win the race. You don't want to give anything away. You're watching what everybody else is doing. Now's where the strategy comes into play. Everybody is waiting for somebody else to be the first one to make a move.
Yeah, first ones to make the move is 78 and 48, doing what they can to get themselves back up. They're making progress on that high side. They're doing a great job at it right now. They still got a long ways to go, and you're going to probably see a few of these cars up here in the top 5 jump out in front of them. Try, not to kill that momentum, but to join them and try to get themselves up to the front, because the leader of that top side usually is the one that gets pushed past the leader for the win, or for at least that top spot here as the laps start to, or as the laps continue to tick away here in this one. But it's like for the time being, that 78-48 kind of stalled out just a bit there on the front straightaway. Trying to regather it up here off of turn number 2 and trying to push their way towards the front.
Yeah, if they can give themselves a run, they're definitely going to inspire a lot of these guys to jump up either in front of them or behind them, and they're starting to get a little momentum there on that outside lane. Not enough, and actually I believe it's the 4 is going to jump out there, Rally Grant Davis. So there's now 4 or 5, maybe 6 cars back there trying to make this outside lane work, and I think this is great on them. You still have you have about 18, 19 laps here as they come to the line, and there's plenty of time to make that outside line work. No real reason to just sit down. We got
the 7.
The 7 cars around. That's a huge incident. It's just him, but he hit that wall and he went flipping up in the air, Evan.
Out of nowhere, the 7 of problems coming into the tri-oval. The 95 giving him a push to the back bumper, and that was Jeffrey Robichaud. And you take a second look at the replay, that 7 just got hooked a little bit on the right rear quarter panel. The bumpers don't line up. Although that's a Chevy and a Chevy, these are not like the COT cars that used to be the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series machines that are on the sim still to this date. The 7 gets hooked. He goes straight up the hill. The 78 lucks out that he's not collected in that one, but then bouncing off the road, or off the outside wall, and then back down in front of traffic is Cole Begunia, and it'll remain, I think, to a single car accident. But what a ride for the number 7.
Yeah, up in the air and over. It looks like a few cars actually went underneath him there, drove underneath him. So, yeah, very fortunate bunch of drivers there on the back. One of those guys being that 33 machine, Corey Hoover, who was right there behind it when it all happened. So, a pole sitter here this evening lucked out there.
Yeah, definitely good for Corey there, and this is really going to shake up the end of this race. These people that were wanting to be patient, this yellow flag's going to do nothing more than eat up time, and now they're going to be forced into being aggressive. They want to make themselves, work themselves up to the front.
It looked like Walker Thomas was thinking about coming down to the pit lane, either to see what everybody else was doing or he wanted to come down, but when nobody else started to go down with him, he decided that he wouldn't be able to. So everybody up at the front of the field stays out, and in fact, I don't even think anybody towards the back came down to the pit lane outside of a couple of guys with damage, Bruce Ackerman and a couple of other names. But this restart going to bring us to the final 15 or so laps to go, and we drop the hammer once again. And Walker Thomas was able to lead that short green flag stint without challenge. Does it put the number 12 Chevrolet in the catbird seat? It hopes to walk it away with the checkered flag. We'll take this opportunity and step away one final time. Back to the Talladega Superspeedway in a moment. You're watching Race Spot TV's coverage of iRacing's NASCAR Race Night.
Truex on the outside, contact made. 56 slides it into 4. Who's going to be at the stripe? Dead even, give it to Ryan Truex. Truex is your winner over Tandy.
We're back live at the Talladega Super Speedway, back into the caution flag at lap number 78 of 94 on the evening. The pace of this race has slowed in the last couple of 20 laps or so. A lot of yellows late coming to the checkered flag, but we could be inside of crunch time. You're watching iRacing's NASCAR Race Night, a special presentation tonight for the Checkered Flag Racing League Traumatic Brain Injury Awareness 250 at the Talladega Super Speedway. Evan Pasoko, Andy Kessler, Randy Chen is still topside with you, with Hugo Louise downstairs in the director's chair. And Andy, we get set to do it all over again, and we might just be saying the same thing here in about 10 minutes or so. A couple of late race restarts. The cautions breed the cautions. Nobody's safe at this point. 15 cars remain on the lead lap.
Yeah, 15 cars, about 16 laps left to go. And when we get the green flag, a couple more off, I mean, you get another caution there, you're going to start dwindling down to that point where you get about 5 laps to go where a caution would end it. So the pressure's definitely on for some of these guys to get to the front here. And as the cars from the lead lap start to dwindle, Randy, it makes it that much more important for some of these guys to get some much-needed points for their championship hopes.
Oh yeah, certainly. It's, you know, you might have the idea that it may make it easier to get yourself a good points position, but then again, the further down you finish, you know, even if you finish 15th here, you will still be the last car that was running on the last car on the lead lap here at the end of this race was all that we're running. I think we're going to see a very, very aggressive last 15 or so laps at the end of this race.
Lights on the pace car. They are expected to go off this time by. I'm going to be inside of now what's going to be the final 15 laps to go, so you have to talk a little bit about caution situational awareness. The yellow inside of the final 5 laps would not allow us an opportunity to go back green. This race would end with a checker and a yellow flag. So you have to look at 6 or 7 to go to be the last open window to see a yellow and still get a restart. So the age-old question, do you want to be first? Do you want to be second? These cars did not run in the 2-car tango, so that question does not apply in this case because you don't want to be riding around second, Andy. Wait till turn 4 on the last lap to make your move, but have a caution come at 3 laps to go and end it on you. So you need to make that move as soon as you can. I don't expect these guys to wait around for anything.
No, they shouldn't wait around for anything. We thought that a couple of restarts ago, we'd see that bottom side, or that top side, I should say, keep the amount of cars up there and maybe try to get that top lane to go much sooner, and it didn't.
Truex on the outside, contact made. 56 slides it into 4. Who's going to be at the stripe? Dead even, give it to Ryan Truex. Truex is your winner over Tandy.
Speedway for the Race Spot TV's special presentation of iRacing's NASCAR Race Night. Did a single file line up until this point after the restart for the 02 and the 39. They're both going to jump up to the outside. Haley going to get clear down the back straightaway. Bronson Stafford going to come up just a little bit short. The 02 going to go to the point.
He's going to go to the point. He's actually going to leave the guy who helped him out to dry on the high side there off of turn number 4. He's going to have to wait for some help. The 39, Branson Stafford. He's got some help, though. Here comes Joe Lawrence in that 78. We talked about him always flirting with that top side all night long. It's usually been back, though, outside the top 10. Now he finds himself here in the top 5 with an opportunity to get it done here. He's going to get the push now into turn number 1. Trying to get that top side, the momentum it needs. It's pretty equal now, top side, bottom side. About the same amount of cars as they exit turn 2.
Yeah, we're coming up now here with 11 laps to go. I don't think we're going to see any more single file running for the rest of this event. I'd expect them to be 2 wide the rest of the way, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see 3 wide a time or 2, although being on the on that extremely high outside line usually isn't very beneficial for a very long period of time. But I think we're going to be side by side for the rest of this event.
So that 39 machine, he's got a bone to pick with the 02 with Jamie Haley, and that's what happens when you come down to crunch time. Is you're going to work with somebody, but really you work with somebody to the benefit of only yourself. 10 laps to go, this time by Jamie Haley trying to steal the win at Talladega. Started in 9th. Oh, caution, 78 machine. Joe Lawrence going to go around hard into the outside wall. The caution will fly, and we're going to have one more final restart.
One more, and that was a heavy hit right there. Looked like only a couple cars involved, which is, I guess, a good thing at this point in the race. And just some slight contact. It looked like the 74 and the 4, or excuse me, the 78 and the 4 made some contact there in turns number 1, and the 78 going to be the biggest, or the one with the most issues right there, with a heavy hit to the outside wall right there. As you can see that replay up on your screen, and it's just going to knock maybe a couple more cars here off the lead lap here in the closing laps.
Yeah, the 78, the big loser. Something we need to be interested to see, though, is Nick Massey got a piece of the 78 as he spun. It'll be interesting to see how heavy the damage is on that car. It doesn't look too bad as we come with only about 10 laps or so to go. And actually with probably 4 to 5 laps under yellow, it's probably going to be a 5 or so lap sprint. So he should be able to try to make something happen here. But definitely unfortunate that, this small field of cars we have left just keeps getting dwindled down more and more.
Yeah, no doubt the cars with the major damage is going to be the 78, the 55, but you're right, the question is how much damage does the 4, the 48, the 38 have, because they all got kind of bunched up together, got into each other from the front and the back, trying to check up as those cars on the outside kind of came down into them and then bounced back up to the outside wall where we saw the big hit come from. But I think at this point, even if you do have damage, take a look at the 48 of Nick Massey. He does have significant front and rear end damage. But I don't think you can give up that spot to Pitt. I think you'd have a better chance at winning the race from P6 with damage than from P15 with a clean race car.
No, you're absolutely right about that. Just the laps are starting to click down here. And we got to remember, too, one thing. A little bit of front nose damage, even a little bit of rear damage, it really won't affect your car too much if you can stay in the pack and stay in the draft. Will he be able to lead a line, whether it's the top or the bottom, with enough speed? Probably not. But it's tucked up behind another car without that air going directly to that nose. It might be all right for that 48 machine. He might be able to keep himself up in the draft and get himself a really decent finish here tonight.
Well, the 48 machine actually comes down pit road, and he may have not had a choice. He may have had a meatball there. We're not really quite sure. But, either way, I think you're right. I think he may have been beneficial for him to stay out there. But then again, if he comes down, gets this damage repaired, if something does happen on this last lap of the race, which it almost surely will, he'll be able to, hopefully drive through that accident as opposed to being stuck in the middle of it.
And it is going to be, by the way, the final restart on the night. With that being said, there's no question that if we see another caution flag, it will end the race. The goal, get to the white flag. At that point, it doesn't matter what happens. You're going to be racing through to a checkered flag, but right now we work lap number 87 at 94. We should see the green flag wave at 89 or 90, so right at about that window that I was talking about, where at 5 laps to go, you're going to need a yellow before then if you want an opportunity to go back green, because it takes about 5 laps to run through caution flag procedure. You got to get up to the pace car, you have to wait for the pit lane to open, so on and so forth. So by those numbers. I do think this is guaranteed to be the final restart. So I'd like to say that Jamie Haley going to be in the best possible position for this one in the O2. I don't know if he's going to choose the outside again or not. It's worked so far for him, which we initially thought was quite a strange decision, but if you get a little bit of a jump as a control car, it seems to have worked out fairly well so far to this point. The question is, if we do get this green flag with 5 or 6 to go, how many laps of that's going to be run under green flag conditions, and how many guys are going to be able to get a shot at it? Because now we saw everybody rotting in single file, Andy, waiting for somebody else to make the move, because the guy who makes the first move is probably not going to be the one to win the race. It's going to be somebody who jumps up in front of him on the outside. At this point, I really don't think they care about that. It's going to be everybody trying to get to the outside.
Yeah, it's going to be every man for himself at this point for the restart. For Jamie Haley, it's going to be all about who does he want, or who does he feel comfortable giving him that push here late in the race. Does he want to start in the bottom and have that 88 giving him a push, or does he want to start on the top side and have the 39? So I really think it's all about who's going to line up behind you is what's going to make his decision fairly easy, I guess, as to which lane he picks here for this final restart.
Yeah, I think, for the most part, it'll be every man for himself. I'm actually somewhat expecting Corey Hoover and Cody Kelly here to work together a little bit. They qualified first and second. They got shuffled down in the back end of this field. Right now they look in front, and they're seeing people that qualified outside the top 30 in front of them, outside of the top 20. I think them being your top 2 qualifiers, they have to work together, try to make something happen here. Be aggressive, but do it together to get yourself back up to that top 3 or 4, and then maybe make themselves a one last-ditch effort for the win.
Lights remain on, so they continue to await and see just how many laps are going to be able to get the job done. 14 drivers on the lead lap with Haley, Thomas, Dadson, Stafford, and Davis running 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Tyrion, Kelly, Robichaud, Hoover, and Ackerman inside the top 10. And then Dalton Alexander, Jason Thompson, Chris Wright, and Nick Macy through 14th. Both the 55 and the 48 that I mentioned, 13th and 14th, have damage, and at least at the moment are on the pit road and trying to get those cars really just patched up. Get whatever you can fixed and try to see what you can get out of it. But Jamie Haley, for somebody who started inside the top 10, Andy, has run a rather quiet evening. He's only joined by Cody Kelly, who started second, Corey Hoover, who started first, and Bruce Ackerman, who started 8th, as fellow top 10 starters inside of the top 10. In fact, fellow top 10 starters still on the lead lap at the moment. We didn't talk a whole lot about this 0-2 until these last couple of laps. He did exactly what I'm sure he wanted to do, fly under the radar and then show up late. Right now, though, you have to finish the deal. Lights out on top of the pace car. We'll take it for lap number 90. It is going to be 5 laps left to go.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this all shapes out. Like you said, for those guys that did start up on the front row, to have the opportunity back to themselves. They were outside that top 15, not, some 20 laps ago. So for them to have the opportunity, missed a couple of wrecks too. So they did some a great job dodging all those accidents there we saw. So they got their opportunity now to basically get that finish that they deserved from getting the good qualifying run they had here tonight. So those guys have the opportunity. It'll be interesting to watch. I watched that 75 and the 33 work together when they were deep in the field, try to draft and get up to the front. So both of those guys starting on the bottom lane there. We'll see how much they work together as well.
I think someone else to watch here is definitely the 12 of Walker Thomas. Obviously, he started second, but the 2 times he was at the front on a restart, he was up on the high lane. So he knows what Jamie Haley's going to have to do and go through in order to get himself out front. I think if the 12 sees Jamie Haley really stutter or hesitate at all, I think Walker Thomas will make a jump, and he might just be the leader coming down in the lap 91.
We're going to see, and again, you got to get to that white flag if you want to be guaranteed to be able to race it out to the end. At any point now, a caution flag would end it. But for the final time, the pace car going to make the sharp left-hand turn, down and away. Haley on the outside, Thomas on the inside, green flag, and 5 laps left to go.
Good jump on that outside for that 0-2 machine of Jamie Haley. He's got the 39, giving him the push. Bronson Stafford. We'll see if both of them can get that bottom side cleared. It looks like they can here. They both drop down to the bottom. They both stay up to the top. It looks like they're going to kind of ride in the middle right there. Undecided, it looks like. as they go to the bottom off of turn number 2. That'll leave one car there all by and lonesome up on the top side to 38 now. Shane Tiernan, he's got to get back in line as quickly as possible as things start to heat up there in the top 5.
Yeah, Tiernan kind of gets left out to dry a little bit here, but I think here in the tail end of this race, if there's a time to just sit on the outside, it might be now. People are going to be, you know, we're coming to 4 laps to go here as they come off of turn 4 and head down the front straightaway. People are going to be making moves here very, very, very shortly, and you may want to just pick your spot to the outside when you can. As we saw the number 88 car, he looked to the outside, decided against it just yet, and actually looking back, the 33 car is kind of eyeing the outside as well.
Single file, front to back in the lead draft that sits all the way through P number 12. The only driver falling out of the lead pack of those on the lead lap is Nick Macy. He had damage, so you're going to be able to duke it out, but who goes to the outside lane first? Lap number 91, down to turn number 3. Gunther Dadson looking to the outside of the racetrack. He'll drop back down in line. Still no movement. It's Haley leading Stafford. The 02, the 39 continue to work together up front. How long does that last?
We'll see about that. 3 laps to go this time by already to the outside now. Here goes the 38, the 33 now. Looking to join that fight, trying to get up to the front. Corey Hoover started on the pole. He's got to make something happen here in the closing laps right now. Goes to the high side, trying to make some momentum. It looks like they might not quite get anything going there. Have to drop back in line, get the draft once again, see if they can time it off of turn 2 this time. But Jamie Haley sitting in the catbird seat now. Well, I don't know if he is. The 39 might be the one in the catbird seat. We'll see here as they go down the back straightaway.
Jamie Haley here blocks a little bit, and the 39 actually does get inside of him. So a huge move by the 39. Walker Thomas stays to the outside, and Gunther Dodson running in the number 88 bug car. He moves himself up front. Actually, we got a little bit of contact. Leaders, this is going to shake up the whole field. If we come to 2 to go, we might just be 3 wide here, Evan.
The 39 tries to block all the lanes. They're going to wreck behind them. The caution will drop the drag race to the start-finish line. It's going to be Bronson Stafford in front. Jamie Haley at the checkered flag. It's going to be. They took 2 to go. The yellow flag came out. And 5/1000ths of a second was the advantage that the 39 held in place, and I believe that's going to be the difference maker between he and the 02 going to victory lane. On the outside of the racetrack, you'll take a second look at the accident. Coming up fast was Jamie Haley. He jumped out of line. The 39 went to block, which really just killed his own momentum, but behind them, the problems came after the 38 machine, who was going backwards early, made a third lane. That's something that probably could have been avoided, but you're coming to 2 laps to go. These guys are giving it 100%. They ran out of room. They wrecked behind them. At Bronson Stafford barely in front, I think, when the yellow flag came out. And they're going to slow up and catch up to the pace car, but it does look like the sim is scoring the 39 in front of the 02.
That's showing that, but the 02, I think, is protesting it now as he's running side by side with him. But, yeah, that was awfully close. You look at the timing and scoring at the line there, 5/1000ths of a second. That is so close right there as we start to come down to the end here to take the white flag. And unbelievable finish right there. Those guys just racing hard, 3 wide. It just didn't work out quite. Everybody just trying to fight for every single inch they could possibly get, and ended up with a wreck right there, right before the start-finish line, coming to 2 to go.
Yeah, Shane Tiernan and Corey Hoover, they finally got that outside run that they were trying to get. However, unfortunately for them, as that happened, the front kind of pair of cars were shuffling back and forth, trying to check each other up. Everyone wanted to lead, and that kind of stacked up the field behind them, and they basically had to choose between lifting or keeping their foot in it. And obviously, 2 laps to go at Talladega, you always keep your foot in it. And unfortunately for them, Corey Hoover, he stays out there, but Shane Tiernan, he's currently in pit lane with the car completely destroyed. So maybe if you're Corey Hoover, he was at the tail end of this field coming to the green flag. He worked himself up to top 5. I'm sure he's happy with that. But I think Bronson Stafford started 33rd, comes home with the race win.
He took the white flag the last time around. It's going to be the checker this time. But at the moment of caution, that 39 of Bronson Stafford undoubtedly was in front. You saw how tight it was. Obviously, the race to the start-finish line irrelevant in the battle for the race win because the field froze it at the point of yellow, but that 5/1000th of a second margin when they completed lap 92, that's basically how close they were the 1 or 2 seconds before when that yellow flag came out. And it was about a foot foot and a half, maybe a little bit less than that. But that 39 was most definitely in front when it was all said and done. And what a night for him. Started this race in the 33rd position. We talked about how it looked like Jamie Haley had this one locked up. He was in control coming to the final restart, but the 39 would not give up. He looked to the outside down the back. The 02 shut the door, and a power move to put his Toyota Camry to the inside going down to turn number 3. He took over the race lead, held on at a caution flag coming to the popsicle sticks at 2 laps to go, and for the final time behind the pace car coming out of the tri-oval, Bronson Stafford going to take the checkered flag. He wins the 2nd annual Traumatic Brain Injury Awareness 250 at Talladega and closes out the round of 12 with a trip to victory lane in the checkered flag racing league.
Yeah, great ending to the race. I mean, exactly what we thought. Real calm and quiet during the first part of this race. A couple yellows, no big deal, about 25, 30 laps apart, and we really saw some good racing. And like you said, everybody taking their time, knowing it's a long race. 250 miles is a long race at this racetrack. Everybody keeping their cool early, and then of course when it gets to the end, that's when everything ramps up. Everybody's on the go. They want to get up to the front. They want to get this win. They have the opportunity to do it, and a couple cautions there late, definitely shaking things up there. Definitely going to shake up the point standings as well.
It'll be interesting to see here as we come down to the, as this race comes to an end, we start this post-race show talking about the points. I haven't really looked at it yet and seeing how these results really shake everything up. But like you said, great win for Bronson Stafford working his way through the field. Unfortunately, a bit of yellows at the end. I wish the tail end would have been clean like the first half was, but it was a very, very exciting finish at the end, Evan.
And we'll talk with those finishers here in just a moment. We'll step away for one final quick time, come back, talk to your top finishers, and get you set for next Tuesday for the next round number 7 of the 2016 NASCAR Peak Info Series, powered by iRacing, right here on Race Spot TV. We step away back from Talladega in a moment. The Race Spot TV post-race show is next. Welcome back to the Talladega Super Speedway for the Race Spot TV post-race show. You're watching iRacing's NASCAR Race Night special presentation, the CFRL Traumatic Brain Injury Awareness 250 at Talladega draws to a close. We're happy to still have you with us. Evan Pasoko, Andy Kessler, Randy Chen, the top side. Let's take a look at your Race Spot TV full race results. Number 39 of Bronson Stafford going to walk away and out of tonight with the trip to victory lane. We'll speak with him down in just a moment. Jamie Haley coming home with a solid result as well in P2. Third place tonight for Gunther Danson, who started 24th. Rally Grant Davis coming home in 4th, and your pole sitter Corey Hoover good enough for a P5. Cody Kelly could walk away in 6th position. 7th, Dalton Alexander. Final spot on the lead lap for Jason Thompson, who comes home at 8th position. 9th, 1 lap down for Walker Thomas. Bruce Ackerman can round out your top 10.
Coming on 11th here tonight, Adam De Blasio will finish in that spot. 12th goes to Shane Terrian. Jeffrey Robichaud will come home in the 13th spot. 14th goes to Nick Massey. Mark Ropolo will finish 15th. 16th is Chris Wright. Joe Lawrence will finish in the 17th spot. 18th to Thomas Jowers. Cole Bologna will finish 19th. 20th to Brendan Madonia.
21st, we have Michael Larry at 22nd, Michael Skinner 23rd, Thomas Bressie the 3rd, 24th, R. Trent Brown, 25th, Austin J. Yarborough, someone who ran strong all race long, but we saw him get caught up in that incident about 30 or so laps from the finish. 26th, Wendell Stratton, 27th, Michael Thompson, 28th, Michael Finlayson, 29th, Casey Kelly, and rounding out your top 30 is Trevor Rapolo. 31st, Carl Shedd, 32nd, Steve Bonesteel, 33rd, Justin Munsell, and finishing 34th is Jacob Adams.
Caught up now with tonight's winner, Bronson Stafford, who started this race at a very bad spot, was back in 33rd spot, going to come home as tonight's winner of the second annual Traumatic Brain Injury Awareness 250. Caught up with your winner down in Victory Lane. Bronson, congratulations to you, man. A net gain of 32 positions start to finish tonight from the back to the front, and then locking it up there late. Talk us first through that final restart and that move down the back straightaway.
Honestly, just kind of position yourself. That whole final restart, I had communication going on with everyone there. All together, me and Jamie Haley, Chris Wright, Shane, we all worked together all race long, and so we had something kind of set up. But I think we all kind of sort of knew 5-10 laps to go. All kind of deals are off. Kind of keep one of us out front and see what happens. And so we got the restart. We got out in front, and it was just kind of no communication from there, so just figured maybe I'd try go high and see who'd go low with me when I came back down, if I could even get inside of them, and ended up getting there, and the 88 was there, so just got lucky with it, with the caution timing and everything like that. But a win's a win, and I haven't won in a long time, so feels good.
And a win at Talladega, it's kind of funny because we talk about how anybody could win these races, but then whenever you lock one of these things up at a plate track, it feels so good because it's so difficult. There's so much of these races that are out of your control. You guys crossed the finish line there, coming to 2 to go just after that yellow drop with about a 5,000th of a second differential between you and the O2. And lucky enough for you, that 39 was on the positive end of the spectrum. Looking back 94 laps ago from now, though, starting so far back in the pack, what was the plan of attack to make sure that you were there at the end of this one? Only 3 drivers that started inside the top 10 going to finish this race at the end of it. You went from the back for the front. How'd you do it?
I screwed up in qualifying. That's all my fault, and my approach to super speedways are normally always just to attack. I'm sure you can relate it to real life in that sense, because you hear the guys that want to run in the back, the guys that feel safe from the front, and I personally believe that I'd rather be in the front. I like being ahead of Rex. I like being more in control of things like that. So I just pushed through. The one point that really changed it all, I was still running like 25th or worse the entire time until I think it was lap 30-something when we had a caution after another one, and guys came down pit road, and me, Shane, Chris, all those guys, like we all stayed out and we got top 5, and I literally stayed there the whole rest of the race. So it was kind of difficult to work through a pack, in all honesty. There was a high side, but you had to have enough people up there. They had to be dedicated to it, and I think there's definitely a lot of good runs from the high side, but it was a lot easier to hold on the bottom. So once you kind of got up there, it was easier to stay up front. So really, pit strategy got us up there the easiest way.
And it was good for you to be able to come into this one and have one objective, and that was to try to win the race, not having to be one of the guys here that was sweating, worrying about the championship standings as the round of 12 draws to a close. You put on a show for us late. You hang on. It was an exciting finisher. Sponsors, shout-outs, people behind the scenes. Who do you want to thank while we got you?
Sponsor-wise, we always got Dollar General, Home Depot on there, Monster Energy, Coke, Coca-Cola, Target. Everyone back at my team, Sky Motorsports, it's me, Shane, Justin Munsell. We sadly, Munsell had an issue early in the get-go, but he stuck out most of the race with us before having to go do something. We always have our friends on Bulletproof Racing, which is Chris Wright and Jamie Haley and Jacob and people like that, and Michael Finlayson. Huge event, second year in a row we've done it now, and it seems to be. It was good last year. It was good this year again too. I mean, huge car count, so that's not a bad thing. The wrecks were kind of not net code or anything like that. So good racing. Gonna shout out to my friends here that were watching, Sam Dyer and Robert Kenny. They were watching, and they've always kind of followed what I do on this stuff and know the struggles I've had. So they finally get to see me win one, which is kind of cool. But yeah, just literally everyone I race with, everyone around, Jamie Haley, Chris Wright, Finlayson, Dalton's finally back, which is nice to see, and my teammate Shane and all them. Just couldn't have done the whole race without teamwork, and there they are. So
Well, you got that final restart, you made your move, and you held on, sir. Congratulations on the trip to Victory Lane. Thanks for sticking around and chatting with us, and the best of luck going forward.
Thanks, guys. Have fun. That was an awesome race. Good broadcast, too, boys.
Your winner tonight, Bronson Stafford, taking a checkered flag at Talladega Super Speedway, and the driver on the flip side of that, the one that had control on the final restart and the one that was behind by those 5/1000ths of a second, is Jamie Haley, who comes home in second place tonight. Andy Kessler's caught up with the driver, the O2.
Yeah, I'm down here on pit road with our second place finisher. It's Jamie Haley. And Jamie, you talk about having control on that final restart. You stuck it out there. You were out in the front, and then it looked like towards the end there, the 39 just able to squeeze into the bottom of you, right, coming to that tri-oval, and that pretty much sealed the fate for you. Talk about this one. Starting up front, you started in the top 10, and then over the course of the whole race, you were able to keep it up there and then ultimately get this great finish.
Yeah, it was really good. Me and Bronson there, we raced a lot together during that pack, and we worked great all night. And I knew that at some point he was going to try the move, just didn't know when. And I did my best blocking I could do without wrecking myself, because I needed a good finish to move on into the chase. Really wanted that win, and that last caution, I believe if it didn't come out, that the 12 of Walker Thomas would have helped me get back to the lead. Just didn't work out that way.
Yeah, it came up just a bit short, but you talk about the implications of a racetrack like this being right smack dab in one of those chase races and basically one of those elimination races, and how close the point standings are coming into these races, and how much pressure is it on you guys as drivers to come to a place like this and know that you need that good finish, but there's also that in the back of your mind, there's so much out of your control.
There's a lot of pressure. You're always looking around you to see, who you're racing and who you got to finish in front of, and sometimes that's more important than winning the race. Just making sure you're ahead of those guys that you're battling, and it was definitely on my mind. I was watching as cars got wrecked to see who it was, to see if it could lighten my heart a little bit and make me run a little harder. And once I figured that I was coming towards the end, I was going to be pretty safe, and running up front on that, I thought I had the car to win, so I just went for it. First time I had really taken the lead other than on one of the cautions and actually run hard. And Talladega is one of my favorite places to go. It can make or break you, though. You can end up in the garage real quick. So just pushing hard when I needed to, just come up short, and I hate that. But it put on a great show. I heard that everybody had a lot of fun.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. But you got to breathe a little sigh of relief. You get 3 more races to get it done now in the chase. Coming up to Martinsville, Texas, and Phoenix. You like some of those places too, as well as Talladega, or are you looking for maybe a couple of those you wish that you weren't on the schedule for this next round?
Definitely about all of them. I'm going to have to just limp my way through and make sure I can finish those. Martinsville, you can end up junk there real quick. And Texas is probably the best out of the 3 that I guess I could look forward to.
Well, with that said, you had a second-place finish here tonight, a great run, led some laps, almost had the win, came up just a bit short in the end, but you get to move yourself on in the championship hunt. Sponsor shout-outs, Jamie, while we got you, it's your chance.
Yeah, I'd like to thank iBuyPower for coming on for another year with me, and on my hood, my buddy Chris North, he wasn't able to make the race this evening because of a lower back injury, and so did a little tribute card to him to know that we're all thinking about him.
There you have it. Jamie Haley coming in a solid second-place finish, and he'll move on in the championship chase, and this is a good run for him. And congratulations again, Jamie, and good luck in the weeks to come.
Thank you, guys.
There you have it, Evan. Second-place finish, almost had to win. Just a little bit short on this one.
5/1000ths of a second short, and that's it. You don't get a do-over. The caution flag ends it at 2 laps to go. Bronson Stafford takes home the win in what was an exciting night, Randy, and I know we look forward to getting back to our regularly scheduled programming next Tuesday with the 7th round of the NASCAR Peak Entry Series, but tonight was a fun night. A lot of yellows late. The cautions bred cautions. That's something that could always happen here at Talladega. We definitely saw it tonight, but there was a lot of exciting racing on the racetrack.
Oh, certainly. It was an exciting race and an exciting finish. And unfortunately, it didn't get to finish under green, but a 5,000-second margin of victory when they came back to the stripe to finish the race. So really, really hard to argue with that. Great run for Bronson Stafford, but like you said, it's looking forward to going back peak antifreeze series racing next week.
And we look forward to that one. Going to be coming up at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway for the 7th round of 16. So tonight we talked a lot about how this race closed it in on the end of this season for the guys of the CFRL Top Motorsports Cup Series. They've got 4 races left to go in 2 rounds, Andy. The NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series guys are very close to their halfway point, and they're almost on that downhill battle as well towards the championship. Inside of 10 weeks to go, starting to get serious.
Oh, of course it gets serious, and of course there's not a chase either involved. So those guys that are just slightly bit outside the points right now still have an opportunity, obviously, with half the season left to go. So they really got to get up on the wheel and get those wins, get those solid finishes that they need to get those points that are most desperately needed at this time of the season. You don't want to let those good races slip away from you. You need everything you possibly can to crown yourself a champion. So much to look forward to next Tuesday night.
We hope to see you then, but until that point, that wraps up our coverage here tonight at the Talladega Super Speedway. I want to thank you all again for tuning in and watching this presentation of Race Spot TV, streaming live on iRacing Live. On behalf of our director, Hugo Louise, Will Vince, and everybody else behind the scenes at Race Spot TV, and for the broadcast team tonight, for Randy Janet, Andy Kessler, and myself, Evan Pizzoco, I want to congratulate Bronson Stafford as the winner this evening in the Talladega Super Speedway. We hope to see you all next week on Race Spot TV, the 7th round of the 2016 NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series, powered by iRacing from America's Racing Showplace, the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Coverage begins with the Race Spot TV pre-race show just after 8:30 p.m. Eastern. But until then, we bid you good night from Lincoln, Alabama. We see you all next week.